The Fire Mage is one of the, if not outright, the strongest caster in Cataclysm because they have a lot of broken mechanics they can abuse and they are gonna destroy every type of boss you throw at them. Let's take a look at the build really quick. Of course, we're gonna go Fire. As you can see right here, we're gonna get Pyroblast baseline, we're gonna get 25% more damage, and we're gonna get our Mastery, which is more dot damage. Depending on your gear level and stuff, your dots are gonna be between 20 and 40% of your damage. So extra dot damage is definitely nice. Of course, we're gonna start with Master of Elements for more mana efficiency. We're gonna crit a lot, okay? We're trying to stack crit here, that matters a lot. We gotta take 3 more points here. I'm gonna take Burning Soul because there is a lot of AoE damage in Cataclysm and that will give you pushback. I mean, if you wanna like do some weird PvP thing or you like moving a lot, maybe you can go for Fire Blast, but we're gonna go for Burning Soul. And here, this may very well be one of the keystone talents of Fire. Ignite, okay? Your critical strikes of your abilities, not your dots, your abilities, are gonna turn into a new dot, very similar to Deep Wounds. If you play a warrior, you know that. So this is one of your main scaling abilities here. Say you do a big Pyroblast and that crits, okay? Like you can imagine the dot damage that generates with this thing. Then we're gonna take here Firepower. This is 3% more damage and your Flame Orb, it will explode. So that's one of your main AoEs, you need it. And we're also gonna take Impact, okay? This is an AoE talent. Basically, you get a 10% chance every time you cast to get a proc, and when this procs, your Fire Blast is gonna spread your dots to other targets, and that is super important because that means you can spread things like Living Bomb into targets, and this right here makes you one of the strongest cleavers in the game. We are also gonna take Cauterize here. It's a nice defensive. When you are gonna die, it's like an Argent Defender, you're gonna get back up with 40% HP. Hopefully you're not gonna need it that much, but yeah, there's a lot of damage in Cataclysm fights. You're probably gonna need it. Then we are gonna take Blast Wave here. It is just a nice AoE. You're gonna need some AoE. AoEing, okay, straight up AoEing, not cleaving. AoEing like big pulls is not a big strength on you, so anything you can take to like make up for that will help. Okay, now we're gonna take Hot Streak. The cool thing about Hot Streak, okay, when you get 2 crits, you get an instant Pyroblast. That's right, your 6-second super long, super ginormous spell that you get on fire, you can do it instant. This is a lot of damage, guys. We're gonna take Improved Scorch because we are gonna have to Scorch in between to refresh a debuff. We're gonna talk about that in the rotation, but yeah, Free Scorch, that's nice. In the rare scenario where you completely go out of mana, that shouldn't happen, but yeah, you got that going on for you, I guess. We are gonna take Combustion. Combustion is really your main DPS cooldown. What this thing does, okay, this is like a Swift Mend but for dots, okay? When you get a bunch of dots rolling on the target, you pop this thing and you double them up. That's a lot of damn. We're gonna take Fire Starter because you can Scorch while you gotta move. Sometimes you're gonna be forced to move and it's better to cast Scorch than to cast absolutely nothing. And of course we're gonna take here Dragon's Breath. This is another AoE, a very good AoE. It's also an AoE CC, and that's really nice. In all of those fights where you are swarmed with ads, and there's many of those in Cataclysm, especially in Blackwing Lair, Descent, whatever they call it now, okay, that one. Yeah, this is gonna come in really handy. Then we're gonna take Molten Fury. This is just an execute. We get more damage when people are below health. That's really nice. We're gonna take here Critical Mass. Critical Mass gives us extra crit. When you do a Pyroblast or a Scorch, you can proc this, and this is a debuff. The Warlocks have the same debuff, but yeah, you're probably gonna have to refresh it on your own. It's good to have. Then we're gonna take Pyromaniac here because it gives you haste if you're cleaving or something like that, so it's really nice. Haste is nice, I guess. And finally, we're gonna take the keystone here, the big talent, Living Bomb. Living Bomb is a dot, and when it runs out, it explodes and it hits 3 targets. Now this has a really nice interaction with this other talent, Impact, because you can spread your Living Bomb with your Fire Blast to other targets, and that way you can get like a really easily, you can get a triple Living Bomb. It explodes, it hits 3 targets, but you do it 3 times, so it hits 9 times. It's a lot of damage. That's a bit of a pattern with the Fire Mage. Everything you do does a lot of damage, doesn't it? Okay, so then we're gonna take here Netherwind Presence. That's just for haste. Free haste is really nice. And here we're gonna take Piercing Eyes for 3% free crit. And that right here is the full talent build. We're gonna talk about the glyphs now. Your prime glyphs right here, we're gonna take first of all the glyph of fireball, that's your filler damage, it gives you crit. Of course, crit is really good for refreshing that ignite, we need that. And we're gonna take also the glyph of pyroblast because it gives you crit on your pyroblast. Of course, critting pyroblast is such a huge bonus for your damage. And it also will refresh the hot streak, so you also need that. But getting a pyroblast crit feels like you're busting a nut on the screen, because you get 40% of that already huge damage as a dot. And then we're gonna take the glyph of molten armor right here because it gives you critical strike. We need critical strike. For your major glyphs, we're gonna be taking first of all the glyph of evocation. We're gonna have to evocate between the fights, and this will heal us. And that is really nice. There is a lot of healer crunching fights that in Cataclysm, and being able to get a defensive is super important. I recall, for example, during Maloriac progression back in Apollo that I had to bandage and stuff in between, so being able to bandage but super strong by yourself, really nice to have. It's not gonna be a big deal once you get the content on farm, but for progression, evocation is gonna be fantastic. There is not really anything good here anyway. We're gonna also take the glyph of Dragon's Breath so we can AoE faster here, less cooldown. And we are also gonna be taking the glyph of Blast Wave because it slows, and having the slow for kiting the ads is nice. There is really nothing that gives you big damage in this row, so you might as well get this for utility. Now for the minor glyphs, they are just a little bit of convenience. It doesn't really matter what you take. I don't know, I guess I would take the glyph of Arcane Brilliance because I hate buffing people, and not having to drink after you do that is kinda nice. You can take the glyph of armors, you can take the glyph of, I don't know, the penguin, so you can polymorph in the shape of a penguin. Who doesn't like that? It doesn't matter, you can take whatever. Your stat priority is gonna be first of all intellect. Intellect gives you crit, spell power, and mana, of course. So yeah, intellect is the best stat for pretty much any caster you wanna stack it. After that you wanna work on your hit cap, which is 17%. If you are a Draenei, that's 16. After that we're gonna stack crit because we wanna get as many hot streak procs as possible. But at the same time, or maybe even before that, you wanna stack your haste cap of 5%. Okay, 5% is gonna give us another tick on our combustion cooldown, and that is huge. Combustion being your main DPS cooldown. Now if you are at tier 11, this is not gonna be a good idea, but after tier 12 or so, once you get like good gear, you can move up a little and you can go for 12.5% haste, because that's gonna get you another tick of Pyroblast and Living Bomb, which are very big abilities for you. So yeah, that would be massive. And finally I will put Mastery at the bottom. It only gives you dot damage, and I mean dot is nice, don't get me wrong, but you know what else gives you dot damage? Literally anything else. And you know what about anything else that you can get? They also buff your other abilities. So yeah, it's not that good. If you are tier 13, okay, we're talking like Dragon Soul, kinda super decked out, Mastery might start making sense for you, but for the most part I'm reforcing every time I can. Now let's take a look at the rotation, okay? First of all, if you get a hot streak proc, this is your first priority. You wanna drop a big ol' Pyroblast as soon as you can because it's instant and it's huge. If your raid leader allows you, you can precast a Pyroblast right before the pull, so you can start with a Pyroblast and God bless your soul, you're gonna be at the top of the meters for 10 seconds. Secondly, if you didn't get a Pyroblast off for whatever reason, or if it falls off, you gotta refresh your critical mass debuff. That's with a Scorch. You're gonna have to do a Scorch every so often to refresh it. If you have a Warlock, you can skip this step. Or remember that Scorch, you can cast it while you move, so if you gotta move in the fight, you might as well fill it up with a Scorch. You probably are not even gonna have to think about this much. You're probably gonna get it off your Pyroblast because your Pyroblast can really apply this thing again, so you're probably not even gonna think about it and you're gonna have it up the whole fight anyway. Then we are gonna do Flame Orb on cooldown. This is very similar to Living Flame, it just follows the target, and then when it ends it does like a boom boom, and that's pretty much it. Then you wanna apply Living Bomb on the boss and refresh it as soon as it explodes. And finally you can fill up the spare GCDs with a Fireball to keep racking up that dot. Once you feel like you got all your dots rolling on the target, okay, you got everything stacked up, then you can throw a Combustion, preferably when Bloodlust is going out, but it doesn't matter. Okay, you wanna throw a Combustion, you can double up all your dots, and that's when you do the real insane damage. The rotation is kinda simple for Cataclysm standards, and it is really interesting because a lot of your damage is dots, but at the same time you're not really applying that many dots, you're just doing normal abilities. You are like a less annoying Warlock. Now, as you guys know, there is two types of multi-target rotations for Cataclysm. You got the 3 or less targets, that's the cleaving, and then you got the AoE, the big pulls. We're gonna go for the cleaving one first. Basically, thanks to your impact talent, you can just spread your dots around. So what you gotta do is go pick one target, the guy that has the most HP. You apply all your cooldowns, you do your single target rotation to that guy, and then as soon as you got all your dots going, you do a fire blast and you spread them all around the other targets, and then you get the triple living bomb, and that's the best damage in the game right there. The fire damage is one of the strongest cleavers in the game because living bomb does a cachillion damage when you triple it up. Now if you're doing an actual AoE pool, like as 5 or more mobs, you know, like a big pool, that gets a lot more tricky. You don't have a lot of good AoEs, honestly. What I would do is open with Dragon's Breath into Flame Orb, then I would do a Flame Strike because the mobs are disoriented, and then after that I'm gonna do a Blast Wave if the mobs are still alive, and if that doesn't kill him, we can just do a Dragon's Breath again or pray. That's pretty much it. You're kinda screwed. AoE is not very good if you gotta do it for a long time. If you gotta do it for like 3 globals, AoE is pretty decent, but otherwise, yeah, you fall off. For your reinforcing, you should probably focus on getting rid of all your mastery and try to hit your haste caps, that 5 or 12.5 haste caps, that's what you gotta work on. Otherwise, if you got spare stats to work on, you can just put them on crit. Your meta gem is gonna be the Burning Shadow Spirit Diamond because it has Burning on the name, and because it has crit, but because it has Burning in the name, you're a fire mage, okay? Your red gem is gonna be the Red Intellect gem, your yellow gem is gonna be the Red Intellect gem, and your blue gem is gonna be the Red Intellect gem. You can also, I guess, you can use a yellow haste gem in your yellow socket if you gotta get haste, but screw that, man. Red is the color of the Roman Empire, okay? Subscribe, leave a like, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.